fact that is special. By all accounts, everyone is expecting.
Slightly weaker than personal income taxation.
The seat, ENWR, has already crossed more than 6,000 crores.
Which is already in the economy, directly into the hands of farmers.
This is the budget. Our government intends to eliminate foot and mouth disease.
The budget has not done much at all. Still we are lower rate. All the exemptions passive for this.
That's a great plus.
Very attractive thing for foreign investors.
Where do you see the green shoots in the economy?
I would have thought that this budget, if anything, has really put in a lot of work to show that we mean every number that we've stated.
Either the revenue tax slab or the willful jurisdiction. Not buoyancy could be had come to the cap.
Well, let me start the show with a big thank you to all of our viewers. Thank you for keeping the faith with CNBC-TV18. On Budget Day, CNBC-TV18 was the most watched English news channel, and the viewership is bigger than general news channels like Republic, Times Now and India Today combined. So we were not only the most watched among business news channels, we were the most watched across all English broadcasters in the country. In the mega cities, our viewership was a commanding 81% on Budget Day across the country. We had a viewership of over 75%, and through the budget week, we had a viewership of over 73%. So once again, here's a big thank you to all of our viewers for keeping the faith in CNBC-TV18. We promise to live up to it every single day. This is not just your budget headquarters, but this is your news headquarters every single day. Well, that's the big story from our side, but let's start the show with the market action of the day. Global markets were under pressure, and India was no exception due to the coronavirus fears. The Sensex down over 100 points, managing to end above 41,400. The Nifty slipping below 12,200. Financial stocks were the key underperformers, with the Nifty Bank slipping by 200 points. The mid-cap index also fell, 3 stocks declining for every 2 advancing stocks. Even global markets are a sea of red. All 3 European indices are trading lower, while the S&P 500 is also down. So it's red across the screens, whether it's our markets or the global markets. Now, all of that possibly because of a dramatic spike in the number of deaths and infections due to coronavirus in China. That has global investors edgy. More than 250 deaths were reported on Wednesday. That is making it the single most deadliest day since the outbreak of the virus. The death toll stands at over 1,350 now, and over 15,000 new cases have also been reported in a single day after China changed the way that it classifies the infection. So that could also suggest why we're seeing this big spike. With this, the total number of those infected has touched 60,000 people. The rate of recovery also rising, with China claiming that more than 6,000 people have been cured of the virus so far. So silver lining there. CNBC's Eunice Yoon gets us the latest. Eunice.
So Hubei province, which is the epicenter of the outbreak, is now changing the way that it confirms its cases. So it has 2 groups, one that it calls confirmed, and those people are confirmed with a test kit. And then the other group are people who are clinically diagnosed. So they are confirmed by using a CT scan. So because of that new change in methodology, we're seeing this jump in the numbers. And it looks as though the aim of it all is to be able to get patients treatment as well as in quarantine faster. But there's still a lot of people who have been doubting the numbers and saying that China is changing its procedures in order to obscure the figures. And one of the reasons why that's out there is because people who are asymptomatic, so don't show any symptoms, are not counted as confirmed cases. So while all these numbers are going up, there are places like the big cities here in Beijing that are hunkering down and putting in place further restrictions. This is what I found out.
For many in Beijing, this is becoming a common sight. Disinfection stations are popping up at apartment buildings all over the city. These makeshift stations are meant to sanitize people's clothing and their shoes as they enter. Security say they spray disinfectant inside every 2 to 3 hours. Property managers are working on ways to disinfect cars, too. Until then, drivers come to places like this. Car washes now disinfect your car for free. But don't expect anyone to clean the inside of your car. The staff here are just as nervous as anyone else about catching the virus, which is why the car wash sanitizes your vehicle before you get in. China's top officials have said they see positive changes in their effort to contain the outbreak. They've put up slogans to encourage the public. Unite, be confident, it reads, prevent and control scientifically. Yet residential compounds are highly wary of outsiders. Security at my apartment building are wearing hazmat suits. Now I have to get my temperature checked, register a government ID, show my building security pass, and my house key to the officers. And that's just to get into my own home.
And China wants to show that it's handling the situation very carefully and moving things forward. They actually sacked 2 local officials in the outbreak zone.
Eunice Yoon, many thanks for taking us through the latest there in China. Meanwhile, the number of cases on the cruise ship that's been docked off the coast of Japan has also seen a spike. 44 new cases being reported today, taking the total to 218. 2 Indians who are on board the cruise ship have been infected. More than 3,000 people are stuck on the cruise ship that has become a floating quarantine zone after dozens of people tested positive for the virus. And the scare over the spread of the coronavirus has led to a lot of churn in the global economy. Annual global events are either being cancelled or postponed. The world's largest mobile phone showcase, the Mobile World Congress, planned in Barcelona, has been cancelled. It was scheduled to be held between the 24th to the 27th of February. More than 1 lakh people usually attend the annual event, and about 6,000 of them travel from China. So that's a big casualty there with the Mobile World Congress being called off in Barcelona. On to a CNBC-TV18 exclusive. Nearly 2 decades after its inception, India's leading online travel portal, Make My Trip, is all set to go global. In his first interview after taking over as the chairman of the company, founder Deep Kalra said, and I quote, "The time has come to expand geographically." He's confident about the company's ability to replicate its success in India elsewhere, also adding that a small team is out scouting for assets abroad. But Kalra also added that the focus will be to build a team and grow organically. He also spoke about the impact of the coronavirus on the travel business, also responding to the charges of predatory pricing that are currently being probed by India's competition watchdog. Take a look.
You'll definitely hear from us in the next couple of quarters. We've identified a few markets where we will go in and replicate what we've done out here. We'll obviously use big pieces of our code. We'll use big pieces of the overall product experience, but we'll localize it. So in some cases that will be quite dramatically different. We will also have senior people who will be then running only that full time. And we're going to see, we're going to share that with you fairly soon. And it's going to be quite exciting because we've, forever actually held back on the temptation to go out and to replicate this in other markets. We've got lots of offers, lots of places look tempting, but we've always felt that the job's not yet done in India, which it still isn't. I think there's a lot to do, but if we look at domestic air, I think that's one market where we now have enough heft where we are looking at other verticals. But when you look at the hotel market, we're penetrated less than 10% online. So it's really, we're a small part of the overall market. So there's work to be done there, which Rajesh will focus on, which I've been telling my people internally because they had similar questions. That Rajesh makes by far a better CEO at scale than I do. So I'm very happy to hand over those reins to him. I am fundamentally an entrepreneur who likes doing new things, and I want to keep doing something new. I'm fairly restless.
I want to bring up the issue that you are dealing with, and that has to do with the CCI probe. It's ordered a probe into contractual terms with hoteliers, denial of access, predatory pricing, misrepresentation of information. The CCI's observation is that there is a prima facie case for investigation of both Make My Trip and Oyo. Now, how do you respond to what is going on with the Competition Commission and specifically on this issue of predatory pricing? Because this has become an issue that the government, forget the CCI, the government is up in arms against.
Yeah, I think we've obviously been taken back with the CCI case, and we are going to obviously respond to it. We are already underway. We are preparing. We don't think there's such a case. Like I said earlier on, the hotel market is still barely penetrated. Whichever figures you believe, it's between 10 to 15% penetrated online, of which even if our market share is 40 or 50%, we're talking about 5 or 7 or 8%. So really, we're still a small part of the overall market, and for us to be, I think, accused of having either monopolistic sway over the market and therefore being able to exercise predatory pricing, we believe is harsh. But then now it's pretty much something which we will have to take up with the authorities. We fully respect the CCI, and we will, go ahead and respond to all their questions, and hopefully be able to convince them of our point of view.
Deep, you spoke of the slowdown that we're seeing in the economy and that having an impact on the travel business. But since we were talking about the CCI, what about the regulatory headwinds and the regulatory challenges? How much of your bandwidth, your time personally, is being spent on these issues, and how much of a risk do you believe that this is going to be as far as the future strategy is concerned?
Oh, a lot of time goes into this. Of course, some of these factors are things which are beyond our control. So one can take a point of view, you can't do anything about it. But, that I think is superficial. I think when macros are tough, then you have to be more innovative. You have to find other things or smarter ways of doing the same thing. Let's take the case of the current coronavirus scare, which is obviously a real global crisis, particularly in the East. We've had cancellations, which is obviously not surprising, not just to China, but also to Hong Kong, Macau, Singapore, Malaysia, and other parts of Southeast Asia, and which is to be expected. So a lot of pressure on the customer service side, which again, we fully understand where customers are coming from, trying to help out the customers best we can, trying to get full refunds, or at least get the ability that you can use the same kind of booking credit for a long period of time, over 6 months or over 12 months, because sometimes that's all we can do, rather than the customers losing out completely. However, at the same point of time, one has to understand westward, a lot of people are still traveling. I myself was in Europe last week. A lot of people are actually switching their plans away from an eastbound travel to a westward travel. So that's pretty interesting if you think about it.
Well, that's Deep Kalra there on a whole host of issues, including the impact of the coronavirus and how they're dealing with that. That's a tough one for the travel business. But more importantly, after 2 decades of being in business, Make My Trip is now looking at global markets. Now, Friday will be the last attempt for telecom companies to get some relief on their crippling AGR dues, because the Supreme Court will begin hearing the modification petitions filed by telecom companies. Remember, the court has already dismissed curative petitions filed by these companies. So they have no choice but to pay. Now, if the court sees fit, these modification petitions will allow telcos to negotiate the terms and the timelines with the Department of Telecom for the payment of these statutory dues. So what will be taken up by the court tomorrow is whether any relief can be granted to telecom companies like Vodafone Bharti in terms of making the payment. So the payment will have to be made, but can they be given an extension or a relaxation on timeline? That is what the court will decide on tomorrow. Now, on the eve of the Supreme Court's hearing, Vodafone Idea has reported a Q3 loss of 6,400 crore rupees. The company has also said that there is significant doubt about its ability to continue as a going concern. Kritika is here now with the numbers and the commentary. Kritika, so Vodafone pretty much reiterating what it has been saying, that this is an existential issue for the company.
Well, let's start with the earnings first. The top line of Vodafone Idea is a little bit of a miss from our expectation at 2.3% of a growth Q-on-Q, but it's a loss that's a big dampener. 6,438.8 crore rupees of loss. The AGR impact has been taken in as an exceptional item figure. We'll get to that in a bit, but that was expected. The reason for the increased loss figure is the increase in amortization and depreciation cost, which has impacted the numbers. But EBITDA at 3,420 crore rupees, slightly lower than what we were expecting. But margins is the only positive at 11.6% versus 10.2% last quarter. Net debt 1.03 lakh crore rupees. But the big thing that could be a disappointment and that we need to watch out very carefully is the ARPU figure. ARPU is at 109 rupees versus 107 rupees last quarter. And if you compare this to Airtel, this is a negative, but then that's because we have been seeing a subscriber churn. So subscriber base is actually down by from 311 million to 304 million. And if you take it on a 6 monthly basis, it's almost a reduction of 25 to 30% in terms of the subscriber loss that they have seen. Now, the big point is the Supreme Court AGR impact. So last quarter, they had absorbed 44,150 crore rupees. This particular quarter, they've taken 5,280 crore rupees. So with that, the AGR impact has been absorbed fully into the balance sheet. What they say, and they had indicated this earlier, but they're saying it in much more stronger terms now, is that the material uncertainty exists that casts significant doubt on the company's ability to continue as a going concern. I'm quoting here, uncertainty on company's ability to generate the cash flow that it needs to settle or refinance its liabilities, including those related to the AGR judgment by the Supreme Court, and guarantees as they fall due. Pending the outcome of the above matter, the financial results have been prepared as a going concern basis, and if they were to not get a positive return, this is going to lead to several questions being raised on if the company can continue or not.
All right, Kritika, many thanks. That's the latest there from Vodafone Idea. Now, a year into the government's flagship scheme, the Prime Minister's Kisan scheme, the PM-Kisan scheme, southern states claim saturation on adding more eligible beneficiaries. Remember, a total of 14.5 crore farmers were initially aimed to be added to the scheme that provides 6,000 rupees cash assistance to each farmer families in 3 installments. Archana joins us now with the exclusive details. Archana, which states claim saturation and have they achieved their targets?
Well, 5 southern states, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, have all claimed that almost all eligible beneficiaries have been added and enrolled into the PM-Kisan scheme. But however, if you compare the data on percentage enrollment versus the 2015-16 agri-census that was used as a baseline for this scheme, none of the states have actually crossed the 60% mark. Look at Karnataka, 57%, Kerala at 37%, Tamil Nadu at 46%. Tamil Nadu and Kerala also, we understand, have stopped adding more beneficiary data to the PM-Kisan portal. Look at Telangana. Telangana is now at 59% and Andhra Pradesh at 60%. Remember, Telangana has a similar state scheme ongoing and they have all the agri land records digitized, and they are claiming that they've reached saturation in finding more eligible beneficiaries. Now, some people we speak to say that some of the self-registration provisions that the government had started with through the Ujjivan app has also led to only a few thousands being added incrementally. In Tamil Nadu, only 1.7 lakh registered through that app, and in states like Karnataka, only around 12,000 farmers individually came up for application. The stark difference is seen when you compare the southern states that have claimed saturation to the northern states that have claimed saturation. Haryana, Gujarat, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand and J&K all have claimed saturation, but except J&K, all of them have crossed the 80% mark as far as enrollment percentage versus the agri-census is concerned. Gujarat at 90, Haryana at 95%. Now, sources tell us that the differences in land record systems in various states could be a reason for this discrepancy between the northern and the southern states. Also, the fact that 2015-16 agri-census had recorded operational holdings, and one operational holding may not always correlate to one farmer family, and hence the difference. So, for instance, when we look at states like Punjab and Assam that have in fact enrolled more beneficiaries versus the agri-census, Punjab has almost added double the number of farmer beneficiaries as compared to the agri-census. That is owing to multiple splits in family holdings overall, and that's one big reason. Currently, 8.8 crore farmer families have been enrolled in the scheme, and that is just a 61% enrollment, again comparing to the 15-16 census. States like Bihar and Madhya Pradesh have been slow in adding beneficiaries. Bihar is only at 33%. West Bengal, remember, with 70 lakh farmers, has still not participated in the scheme. So some bit of a gap will be filled in by these states. But with the states now claiming saturation, government officials estimate that PM-Kisan beneficiaries may finally be restricted to the 12 crore number and not 14.5 crore as estimated earlier. Here is the Joint Secretary of Agriculture and the CEO of PM-Kisan.
Yeah, the current trend shows that we would be able to reach about 12 crore farmer base for the PM-Kisan. So we are hoping to reach about 12 crores once West Bengal also joins, because West Bengal is one state which has not given any data to us. There are about 9 lakh farmers who have directly applied on the portal from West Bengal, whose names also we have sent to them. But since West Bengal government is not participating in the program, we have not been able to get verification of these farmers and include them in the beneficiary list. But once West Bengal gets on board, then we hope to reach about 12 crores.
So that is the latest on the PM-Kisan. 9 crore beneficiaries are lower than what the government was expecting. Remember, the government had estimated 14 crore beneficiaries, and that is where, even in this budget, there's been a significant savings. Now, it is the second day of Amazon's court battle with India's competition watchdog over its proposed probe on allegations of predatory pricing, deep discounting, among others. Yesterday, Amazon made its opening arguments against the probe, calling it a voyage of investigation. Today, it was the turn of the Competition Commission to hit back. Mugdha Warrier joins us now with the action. Mugdha, what transpired in court today? What did the CCI have to argue?
Today was day 2 of Amazon's court battle with India's competition watchdog over its probe on allegations of predatory pricing and deep discounting, among others. Yesterday, Amazon made its opening arguments against the probe and said that since they are regulated under the FDI policy, the CCI's order is infringing on the jurisdiction of the central government. Responding to that, the CCI Council today said that this was an attempt to create confusion about jurisdictional facts. Amazon had also argued that CCI had not given the company a chance to be heard before bringing out the order, to which CCI's counsel said that the discretion to hear any party is with the Commission under Section 26(1) of the Competition Act. Now, the Delhi Vyapar Mahasangh that had lodged the complaint with CCI also made its arguments. It asked for the CCI proceedings to continue. It also argued that agreements between Amazon sellers and the platform should be investigated, as is being done in the European Union. Now, the Confederation of All India Traders, a body of over 40,000 sellers, also said that they wanted to be heard in this matter, claiming that the Delhi Vyapar Mahasangh is its members. The arguments will continue tomorrow, and the court will decide whether it needs to order an interim stay on the CCI probe.
All right, Mugdha, many thanks for joining us. Now, Chinese tech behemoth Alibaba reporting a 38% rise in its revenue for the December quarter. Adjusted EBITDA growth stood at 37%. Annual active consumers touched 711 million, driven by continued new user acquisition. That's Alibaba for you. Instant messaging service WhatsApp has amassed 2 billion users, making it the second app after Facebook, which is about 2.5 billion users. WhatsApp had about 1.5 million users at the end of 2017, a gain of 500 million users in just 2 years. The messaging service platform has no plans to drop end-to-end encryption, which has angered many governments across the world. And 39-year-old Conservative MP Rishi Sunak has been named the new Chancellor of the Exchequer in the United Kingdom. That is their equivalent of the Finance Minister. The appointment is part of a major cabinet reshuffle by Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Sunak is also the son-in-law of Infosys co-founder N.R. Narayana Murthy. Sanjay Suri joins us from London with more. Sanjay, the appointment coming as a big surprise.
The appointment of Rishi Sunak as Chancellor of the Exchequer is a most unexpected development. Certainly, it's going to be a very controversial one as well. He replaces Sajid Javid, who has been in conflict with Prime Minister Boris Johnson over his proposals ahead of the budget coming up very shortly. Rishi Sunak now is going to be Boris Johnson's right-hand man in every sense of the term. The Prime Minister's residence is 10 Downing Street. That of the Chancellor is 11 Downing Street. These are the only two homes among the cabinet members on that little road, and this of course is symbolic of a very strong position of the Chancellor of the Exchequer, always traditionally number 2. So Rishi Sunak now is effectively and officially number 2 in the British government cabinet. There have been conflicts between Sajid Javid, the outgoing Chancellor, with Boris Johnson over policies particularly relating to Europe, and Sajid Javid, as a former Deutsche Bank man has been very keen on networking with European institutions, but there is a conflict there, and that is now in the past. It's going to be Rishi Sunak, who does not quite have Sajid Javid's credentials, but well, he has the job.
Sanjay Suri, many thanks for joining us. Rishi Sunak named Britain's finance minister. It's time now for a quick break.